So I drive like halfway on the sidewalk, halfway like on the yard that's in between the road and the sidewalk, if that makes sense. Flatten it out, reverse over it, leave. It's flat. Bees aren't using it anymore. I see flies and shit on it. I'm like, all right, cool. And I go and check. They're rebuilding in the
Hell
fucking
yeah.
I'm like, bro, go somewhere else. So I'm gonna have to spray them.
Nah, they like that fucking tree you got, man. Damn.
It just sucks. I gotta kill them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can do this without killing them all.
Well, hey, man. You know, sometimes this world kind of, you know, taints us. You know, like shit, man. Now you gotta go out there and do what you gotta do. You know.
Yeah, I thought it was like save the bees.
You tried.
Yeah, even though they're wasps, but still.
They're wasps.
Yeah.
Fuck that, dude. I would have killed them right away, bro. I'm spraying them right away.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some spray probably today.
Yeah, well, a lot of those sprays you get, you know, they got, you know, like a 12-foot fucking, you know, so you
distance.
Yeah. Damn, they must really like that tree.
Yeah.
It's in the backyard or in the front yard?
Yep.
Dang. Yeah, they said, nah, we're rebuilding the home.
We like it here.
Yeah.
We got some good real estate. We'll just rebuild.
Yeah, we're gonna stay here. Damn, that's crazy. All right, man. Well, we're back. As you can see,
upgraded chairs a little bit.
We can move around a little bit here. The first thing we would say after each time we record, well, Steve would, my ass.
Bro, I was so, or it would fall asleep. Like, it was cool to have like the weight room feel.
Yeah.
But man, like doing, especially that mental toughness episode where it's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah. So these are nice though. These chairs are nice. This is what we use during the school day.
Yeah.
So, man, we got an idea for today. A good talking point. I guess before we get to that, I don't know if we want to review just real quick the week maybe. I don't know. You're kind of slowing down, yeah, like you said.
Super slow.
Yeah.
Super slow. Yeah, we have what, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6. We have 5 like coaching hours.
Okay.
Like as far as when athletes can show up, it always runs over and 5 turns into 7. But at least during the summer. And we probably have last week. I mean, school started. Probably had 15, 20 athletes a day.
Really?
Between those 5 hours. Yeah.
Damn.
Slow.
Total?
Slow, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So, but it's that time of year. If you're working with, we work with a ton of volleyball, ton of soccer, a few football athletes. Boom, they're in season.
Yeah.
They're doing conditioning and tryouts and stuff like that. So, yeah, it just really slows down.
Yeah, and we're picking up obviously with the school year.
Yeah.
So we had 2 days last week, Thursday, Friday, pretty chill. We usually, first couple weeks are pretty, we don't rush into anything, you know. So we'll start our testing next week and kind of see what's going on with that. But I mean, we got some good sized classes, some big classes, which is good for the most part. And yeah, I'm just, you know, school year starts. It's always good to kind of get back into it and get into a routine and just kind of get back to training with most of these kids that weren't here in the summer. And really, I mean, just to watch the kids compete, you know, with their sports starting up here in a couple weeks. So, yeah, football team is, you know, they had their scrimmage last night, their inter-squad scrimmage, and then we'll have one more scrimmage against the team next. I don't know if that's Friday.
Probably.
Was that Friday? We usually do that Friday.
I assumed the scrimmage was Saturday because they're on a different field.
Yeah.
And like they had to let that team use it on Friday.
Yeah.
That's my assumption.
Well, they did. I'm pretty sure it was Saturday last year too, the inter-squad.
Never mind.
I think. So I don't know exactly why they do that. But yeah, I think that the next scrimmage will be, I'm assuming, on Friday, and then, you know, first game after that. So excited to watch that, and excited to watch, you know, like our volleyball, our soccer teams, you know, the teams that have been training with us over the summer. And I'm trying to think. I'm sure I'm missing some. But anyways, that's really, you know, the last, at least for the football team, you know, the last 8 months has been filled with work that, you know, nobody outside of the program really sees, you know. So, be good to see those kids start competing, and the kids that were with us during the summer. You know, a lot of those kids worked really hard and you know, committed to what we were asking them to. So that'll be fun to watch. Yeah, other than that, just kind of getting started with the school year. And then, yeah, today you came up with an idea, okay, which I think is going to be good. You kind of want to hit on it, on kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
With...
So I'm just thinking of, like I laid out a bunch of future topic ideas, but just thinking of like what could be actually useful for people, what people are actually going to like get something from.
Sure.
I think there's some episodes where there's definitely like, oh, like people, I think probably every episode, people who can get something from it, what are people actually looking for?
Yeah.
And so we're looking at top 5 most overrated exercises in the weight room for athletes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's good. You know, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and you know, I was sitting there over the past couple of days, like just kind of brainstorming, coming up with like different ideas that I thought that would apply to this topic. And I'm like, man, like I'm coming up with, because every exercise I would think of, I'm like, you know, you could probably make an argument that like, you know, this is you know, beneficial in some way or another. But yeah, I'm kind of interested because we haven't communicated on what exercises we pick. So I'm kind of interested to see. Kind of.
I'm covering it as we talk.
I know, mine's face down. I'm kind of interested to see how similar or unsimilar, dissimilar we were. So I don't know. Mine, like I kind of put them in an order, but I didn't really go. I don't know. It was kind of hard for me to make like a, you know, number 5 is the least overrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so it is kind of in an order, but it's also kind of not really. But
same to some degree.
okay, all right. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first just because I have extras in case we double
I got
up.
you. Okay, so my first one,
Number 5.
Number 5. This is the one that I first thought of.
Okay.
Okay, and I see a lot of people doing this. I see a lot of athletes doing this. You can do it right, but I feel like most of the people that I see do it aren't doing it right.
Okay.
Is a single leg RDL.
Okay. You've talked about this before with the hips.
Yeah. We've talked about this a little bit before. You know, I think, you know, I'm a big proponent of, you know, like unilateral work. You know, with a single leg RDL, my biggest complaint, my biggest issue with it is that if you're not using a hand to balance, okay, a lot of people I'll see use like with a barbell or 2 dumbbells, and it's just like, man, it's hard to do it right in the sense of a lot of times your hips are, you know, a lot of times people will go here. If I'm using this, they just sit into this hip, right? So it'd probably be better if I did this side. They sit into this hip, meaning that this hip raises up, you know, because really the biggest issue with it in my head is the balance factor, right? Like, I think you're kind of limited by how balanced you can be on that working foot. So an alternative to that, because I still think there's a lot of benefit to doing, you know, single leg work and single arm work for that matter. But like we do a lot of like kickstand RDLs, right? Or, you know, we've done like hand supported RDLs as well, where it's like, hey, your focus here should be to keep your hips square to the ground, right? Instead of sitting into one hip, letting the hip raise up where you're just more limited by what your balance is and kind of where you're at, especially if you're using a barbell. It's like, I don't know, just most of the time that I see people doing it, it doesn't really look great to me. And I would rather do something that is easier to balance, but is still a little bit more single leg focused, like a kickstand RDL or like a hand supported RDL. So that's my first one. And again, there's benefit to it. If you can do it right, if you have the balance, you know, to do it, I think it's great. But I would probably, if you're gonna do it, I guess, I don't know. Now I'm thinking off the top of my head. If you're gonna do it, I don't know if I'd probably use dumbbells over a barbell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think it gives you just a little bit more freedom to.
I agree.
To balance over. So, yeah, that's my first one.
I like it. I like the alternatives. shoot, what was I gonna say on single leg RDL? Oh, most of the time I hear the argument for it is, oh, you get single leg, hamstring, strength work, and balance work. It's like, well, just pick one.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get less strength work if you need more balance.
Yeah.
In the exercise.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. My number 5. This is the only one on the list where I don't think anyone should do it.
Okay.
Everything else, I think there's an argument, kind of like how you prefaced before you started. Like, there's an argument either way for most of these things. This one, I'm like, no, this is stupid. Why do people do this? Is standing with a dumbbell,
Okay.
shoulder external rotation. Do I think external rotation work is important for the shoulder? Absolutely. Yeah, there's different ways you can load it and do it. Holding a dumbbell, gravity's pushing it down, so
Yeah.
it's more of a bicep, forearm, elbow flexion exercise. Just doing external rotation, like it does, you're not working the external rotators. You're going through that range of motion, but the load is more of a bicep exercise.
Yeah.
So that drives me crazy to see people do it. Alternative,
Yeah.
you can do it in a bunch of different ways. If you want to do standing and do this external rotation, just hook up a band.
Yeah.
There's different ways to do it where you're propped up, ways to do it on a bench. But yeah, standing like you're doing a bicep iso, external rotation, I can't stand to watch. I lose my mind.
Yeah, you see a lot of people doing that. You can do it like with a cable, same thing with like a band,
Cable,
right?
yep.
And something that I'll tell some of our kids that will do that if they got shoulders going, whatever. For whatever reason, they probably don't even know why they're doing it. But
I'm warming up my shoulders.
yeah, it's because they've seen other people do it, But it's like something that I think is that will make it a little bit more beneficial. All of the stuff you said on top of that is just like, putting a towel between their elbow and their rib, where, because a lot of times I feel like even if it's like cable or band, a lot of time, you see people kind of getting away from the body with the elbow. So like if you're forced to pinch something in there and like really maintain contact, just kind of to make all the movement come from the shoulder, which is where you want it. I think if you are doing some type of external rotation work, it shouldn't be with a dumbbell, as you mentioned. But I think if you are, you should add, a towel between the rib and the elbow, just kind of keep it tight to the body. That's a good one. I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah, it pisses me.
Okay, second one. I'm coming in hot with this second one. Okay, this
Number 4.
Yes, number 4. This is a hot take. Okay, my fourth one is a barbell deadlift.
Okay.
Okay, I think. Okay, if you are an athlete, in terms of using a barbell RDL, I think there are benefits to it. Okay, but in terms of overrated, my idea of overrated is, people. A lot of people do a barbell RDL just because, again, they see other people doing it, or even if they like how it feels, that's a whole different thing. But to me, right, so with an RDL, with a barbell, right, the weight is in front of your center of gravity. Okay, this is super simple. Obviously, with a trap bar, like you can make it more centered, okay, underneath your center of gravity. And I think at least for athletes, I think if you are going to do a deadlift, I would have them do a trap bar deadlift over a barbell RDL, or sorry, a barbell. Have I been saying barbell deadlift?
You went back and forth with deadlift and RDL.
Okay.
But
I mean deadlift, not RDL. I'm a big fan of RDLs. So barbell deadlift is what I mean. And so, again, you can use a trap bar. It makes you more centered, makes the weight more centered underneath your center of gravity. Sure, the weight's going to be pulling you forward unless you're training for, like, to be a power lifter.
exactly.
I think there's a lot better options that you can use other than a barbell deadlift. Now, again, there are benefits to it. I mean, just the whole posterior chain, like training the whole posterior chain, there's a lot of benefits to that. There's certain ways that you can use it to train for your cleans. Obviously there's a difference between a normal deadlift and a clean deadlift. But there are benefits to it, but I just feel like I see a lot of people doing it because they see other people doing it, or it is, I mean, it's just a traditional, strength exercise that, especially with high schoolers, you get into lifting weights and like your deadlift is usually one of the three, oh, what do you bench, squat and deadlift, so again, I see it. I think there are benefits for it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad exercise, but specifically for athletes, I think a barbell deadlift is a little bit overrated.
All
so
right.
That's my number 4.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. My number 4. My number 4 is bird dogs.
Okay.
Bird dogs. Even though it's not like a super like everyone talks about doing bird dogs, but I don't see how it's like it can be a good exercise. It can be useful, but I think it's just kind of over talked about, overhyped.
Yeah.
Oh, keep your back safe or work your back. It's like your back doesn't move.
Yeah.
Just again, Stuart McGill, who kind of popularized bird dogs. Hopefully people know what I'm talking about. Hands and knees, extend one arm, one leg. I still have athletes do bird dogs, kind of part of our program, especially like beginner athletes. It is what it is. It's a fine exercise, but to think it's like creating a long-lasting adaptation for the back, I don't think it's really worth much.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like with a bird dog, it's like for older populations, and someone that maybe hasn't worked out in a while or has never worked out, to work a little bit of just like stability, I think.
Sure.
There's benefits to that, but for athletes, like speaking specifically for athletes, it's like, yeah, man, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of other ways, like you said, to get that done, as opposed to doing something as, again, you throw it in a warm up, maybe like, if someone's been dealing with, certain issues, you can throw it in. It's not going to hurt, but I think there's other options that will give you kind of like more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's like all of our exercises, I'm sure we'll hit on it at the end. There are use for these exercises. Bird dog can be a fine exercise if you're coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
Like early stage rehab, like learning how to brace and not let the back move while moving your limbs. Cool. But as far as once you're past that beginner stage, I just don't see it having much use.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that makes sense to me. Okay, my third one here is, I guess this isn't much of a hot take, but my third one is a leg press.
Okay.
Okay, so similar to the barbell deadlift, I feel like a leg press is one of those things, especially if you're like working out in just like a commercial gym. It can be tempting to put some weight on there, because obviously with a leg press you can load it up much more than you can like a squat variation with a free weight. And I just think for athletes, again, I mean, for the most part, I'd much rather have them use a free weight. Now, I also have, it's kind of a tangent, but I also have, lately over the past year or two, like appreciated the use of machines. I think a lot of times, we've talked before about the idea of the pendulum swinging in different topics. And I think with like free weights versus machines, I think there's also that idea of, over the past, I don't know how long, but really since I started in this field, like, it was, machines are suboptimal or just might not be the best option. And I've definitely fallen into that, where it's like, okay, yeah, we got to be using free weights. But now it's like, yeah, if there are a lot of instances where, using machines are very beneficial, but with a leg press, I feel like it's easy to justify why to use a leg press as an athlete, in the sense of like, yeah, I'm just, I'm loading it up with a lot of weight and I'm moving a lot of weight, and it, maybe it feels good like on my legs and I get all of that. But again, I don't think for a healthy athlete, I think there are better options, just as we're saying, to, load the lower body, load the legs. Even if you don't want to load the spine, like with a like a back squat or, a front squat. It's like, man, there's a lot of different options to kind of work a very similar stimulus, like a trap bar deadlift or like even something as simple as like a Zercher squat. You know what I mean? Like you could use something that, I think other options that force you to be a little bit more balanced and coordinated, I would prefer for a healthy athlete. But again, I've said it multiple times, like, I wish we would have kept a leg press in here.
Yeah.
Because we had 3 of them back in this corner.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I wish we would have kept one. Just because it's like, yeah, for injured athletes, for someone that has, an upper body injury that can't hold a bar, we don't have any safety squat bars in here. It is nice, just to be able to load up some lower body movements. But for a healthy athlete, I think it's a little bit overrated, just because, again, I think we see a lot of people doing it, and it's impressive when people have a lot of weight on there. But it's like, for all intents and purposes, for what we're training, like, as an athlete, I think it's just a little bit overrated.
Yeah.
So
I get all that.
Yep.
I get all that. That's number 3.
Yeah, that's my number 3.
All right. You came in hot with number 4.
Yeah.
Now I'm done with the external rotation and bird dogs. Number three most overrated exercise. I have cleans.
Okay.
I have cleans.
Okay.
Now, as you prefaced and as I already mentioned, doesn't mean I would never have athletes do these exercises. There's use for everything. But as far as being overrated, it's like, cleans are awesome. I have athletes do cleans. I do cleans myself. But is that like the end all be all? No. Especially when how we were taught how to clean. You find out like we're bouncing off the ground, catching it. You see some ugly catches. And even like the transferability at times, it's like probably not the best. Can it be a good exercise? Yes. If you want to work on just explosive, powerful movements. Everyone always talks about weighted jumps or med ball throws, or like a speed squat. Or speed trap bar deadlift. I think all those are good. What I think is probably more beneficial for a clean is like getting under and catching and stopping the weight. There's different ways to do that with depth drops or just like a fast lowering and catching. I typically like doing that in like a lunge position or split squat. But yeah, to train those qualities, there's different ways to do them. I just think the clean can be overrated.
Yeah, they're gonna come for you, bro.
I know. Well, wait till we get to the next 2.
All our PSM folks are gonna come for you, bro. That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I definitely get that. I mean, that's an age-old conversation, right? Of just like, should you clean your athletes or should you not? We've talked about that before. But I could definitely see how it could be overrated, just in the sense of like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, see clips all the time of high school athletes, trying to clean, and like you said, it's ugly. It's not even, because the thing with the clean is like, it's so, and again, we've talked about this, but it's such a technical movement that if you don't have just the basics of the technique down, it's like you're not training what a clean trains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely get that. Okay, my second one is kind of a hot take as well. Okay, it definitely is a hot take. My second one is the back squat. Okay, so did you have that one?
Yep.
Okay.
That was going to be my number 2.
So my second one is the back squat, and I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. But very similar to how you said with the clean, the back squat, a lot of times I feel like is seen as the end all be all of, lower body or full body exercise. It's the king of
all exercises.
King of all exercises, and there's a ton of benefits to doing it, all of that stuff that we've already prefaced it with. I just feel like, again, for loading a bilateral squat pattern, it's like, yeah, I mean, if it works for an athlete, like all of our athletes back squat, if it works for them, then great. But I feel like, kind of on point with everything else that we've been saying, it's like there's so many different alternatives. My main reason for including it is just to highlight the fact that, there are tons of different ways that, even within a squat variation, right? There are tons of different ways to get the same or a very similar stimulus as you would with a back squat in different ways. So like front squat, hands free, front squats or zombie squats, Zercher squats we already hit on, like even like Bulgarian split squats, even, even again, to go back to like a trap bar deadlift, not exactly the same, but similar kind of movement. It's like, man, I think just highlighting the fact that there's a lot of different options to train a very similar movement as a back squat. I just feel like, we need to kind of get away or bring awareness to the fact that sure, back squats are great, have a time and place, but I think they're just overrated in the sense of that's what everybody thinks like, you need to ultimately work up to on like loading your lower body. So what do you think about it?
I love all the, hey, there's different variations, a
Yeah.
different way to get the job done. My reason for putting it in there, and I think you said it, but we both have our athletes back squat. But as far as being overrated, like you have to back squat, you do not have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually do it. There's Mike Boyle. I was listening to a Mike Boyle podcast on Just Fly Sports Performance years ago, like 5 years ago maybe. And he was talking about he doesn't have his athletes back squat. And I was like blown away. I went through undergrad at this point. I had internships. I don't think I was in grad school yet. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's the king of all exercises. This is how you get strong. Like, so many studies on back squatting and like increased performance, especially at lower level, high school, maybe even some college. Like, it's like, why wouldn't you back squat? And it just opened my eyes up to there are no rules.
Yeah.
You don't have to squat. You don't have to clean. You don't have to deadlift. Like, there are no rules on exercises you have to do. You should do your sport. You should probably, most sports, you're probably going to sprint. You're probably going to jump. After that, like, they're just tools.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools in here.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you use.
Yeah.
Some are better for building muscle than others. Some are better for whatever than others. But they're just tools. You don't have to do any of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think another one that another alternative to it is, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like a safety squat,
Safety bar back
safety
squat.
bar back squat, I think that's, especially if you have access to that, just in terms of, keeping the shoulder in a more neutral position and being a little bit more just comfortable for most athletes to do. I think it's a great alternative. And even if, between, I know obviously a back squat is a bilateral squat, but I think you can, a squat is a squat. And it's like, again, like a single leg squat where, what is that? Like a half field squat?
Where you hold on.
Yeah. Like those are awesome. You know what I mean? Obviously you have to have a safety bar for that, but it's like, again, there's a lot of different alternatives. And I think your point of like, don't get married to a specific movement. I think that's pretty common for athletes to do, and even young coaches. I'm sure we both have kind of experienced that, where it's like, oh, we have to do this, this, and this. It's like, you really don't,
You don't.
And I think you realize that as you get more experienced as a coach, and you're like, man, you see what a lot of other people are doing coaching wise that are really successful at what they do. Like Mike Boyle is a perfect example, right? Who's been relevant in the strength conditioning field for 30, 40 years, however long it's been, for someone that's experienced as he is, to make the point of like, we don't back squat, it really kind of can shift your perspective and kind of make you look at things in a different way.
The biggest thing was like, there are no rules. You don't have to do any single exercise.
Yeah. Okay, my number one.
I hope we don't have the same number one.
I doubt it. My number one is, and this is pretty straightforward, is just like basically like bicep tricep exercises. So like arm farm, curl press down variations. It's like, we see it all the time. Like athletes, you go into the gym and especially if you're working out by yourself, it's like, you want to get a pump in, you want to like, you want to look good, you want to feel good. And I get all of that, but it's like, in terms of, I tell our kids all the time, it's like, I mean, having bigger biceps isn't going to make you better at your sport. You know what I mean? It's like, we still, especially over the summer, we'll hit it. We'll hit like a bicep or a tricep at least one day out of the weekend here, just to, again, like, give them a look. They like looking in the mirror, rolling their sleeves up and doing all that, which there's benefit to that. It's kind of related just in the sense of, yeah, I mean, it can help with your confidence, and especially as a younger athlete, it's like, yeah, I get all of that, but I think none of those are really going to make you better at your sport. The one thing that I am adding this year, I don't think we've done this in the past, but the one thing I am adding is like similar to what you've done. I kind of pretty much got it from you when you were doing the combine stuff, but we're going to do like a banded like tricep press down, just to kind of look at the opposite end of it. Like, yeah, especially with a tricep, like working your triceps obviously can really help with the lockout of your bench press. And that's something that, again, like listening to you talk about it, kind of like, yeah, well, like, even though it is kind of like a bro muscle, it's like, yeah, there's benefit to it for sure.
Yeah.
So we are going to add that into class. We're supersetting it with one of our main movements. I forget which one. We are going to add that in, but yeah, just in general, I feel like working your beach muscles, your biceps, your triceps, things like that. It's like, yeah, it can help with some things, but in terms of helping you become a better athlete, I'm just don't really think there's much use for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I had because again I had 9 on here just in case we doubled up. Even though I let the squat go, I had bicep curls on there as well.
Did you?
Yeah, it's like, what's it doing for you?
Yeah.
But again, still prescribe it for some athletes, and you talked about it as well.
Yeah.
So, number 1, most overrated exercise, I put bench press.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as, I think this is the one that stood out for me as like similar to the squat, but I think the squat is more for coaches. Like, we got a squat. And don't get me, we talked about it, we still have almost all of our athletes squat. Just, you don't have to do it. Or back squat, I should say specifically.
Sure.
I think the bench press is that for the athletes, especially guys. Like, well, there's a girl at the field house who's talking to me about her bench press max. She's really into it, which is cool. But do you have to do it as an athlete? No.
Yeah.
People care about what your bench press is. That's such a guy thing, such a high school guy thing too. But you don't have to do it. There are ways to get the job done with incline variations, bunch of dumbbell variations, weighted push-ups, dips, things like that. Overhead press, I think, not the same exact movement, but you want a strong upper body. Overhead press is a great one for pressing motion. But do I still have the majority of my athletes at a certain age bench press? Yes. Is it still, I don't know, arguably the one that causes the most issues with the shoulder? Probably, at least in my opinion. You could probably find information for that somewhere online. But still have athletes do it. But is it overrated? Do people care too much about it? Does it not have a great carryover to the majority of sports? Yes, I'd say it's number 1 most overrated exercise.
Yeah, I could see that. I remember, this makes me think of like being in high school, and Coach Mormon was the one that like brought it up. I forget what we were even talking about, but he was like, training in the weight room, like really, at least for a D lineman, is like an incline press is probably more related or relatable to what you do as a D lineman as compared to like a flat bench press. Because it's like, and again, this is a slippery slope when we talk about this, but it's like, yeah, when do you ever like directly press someone straight off of your chest, right? Where like if you're in a good athletic position as a D lineman, like, yeah, you're probably going to be pressing a little bit more. If you got a lower center of gravity, you're bending your knee or your hips and your knees. It's like, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit more of an incline press than it is like a flat bench or even like a decline press. But yeah, that's another one that I think is, again, just after decades of, what do you bench? It's like, like you said, especially for high school athletes, it's like, yeah, it's just become baked into just lifting and strength and conditioning as one of the biggest, most common exercises that people do. Um, and yeah, I could definitely see how it's overrated, and there's so many different options that you can use to, I've even thought about, I haven't done it yet because we don't have enough dumbbells, but I've even thought about like, you know, switching from a barbell bench to a dumbbell deadlift for like a semester.
Dumbbell bench?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did I say?
Dumbbell deadlift.
Yeah. Dumbbell bench press. Again, we don't have enough dumbbells, but I'd be interested to see kind of like, how that would play out. And yeah, I agree with that. I think the bench definitely could be considered overrated for sure.
Yeah.
What were your some
Honorable mentions?
Yeah, honorable mentions.
All right. Starting at number 9, I had bicep curls.
Okay.
Number 6 was sit-ups.
Okay.
Not that it's a bad exercise. I haven't prescribed it. Not standard sit-ups probably in a while. But number 5, I was telling you, it's like kind of a methods thing, not an actual exercise. I said anything on a Smith machine. That kind of reminds me of like leg press.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that I wouldn't ever prescribe it for someone. We don't have a Smith machine. But like, you see a bunch of influencers or people on Instagram, YouTube, social media doing Smith machine exercises.
Yeah.
Especially for building muscle.
Yeah.
Cool. But like, as an athlete, and like, do you have to do it? No. And then number 4, last one on the overrated honorable mention list was box jumps. Yeah, box jumps. They're good. They're fun. I think it gives you like a target, so it drives a little bit more intent.
Sure.
Like, you gotta be as powerful as possible. But as far as like, what's your max box jump? Oh, can you jump on this? It's cool. And I still have athletes box jump, step into a box jump, seated box jumps. Like, they're good. But if you're flexible enough and you can land into a deep squat position, like, you kind of have a cheat code for it.
Yeah.
So there's uses for it. I think, the biggest like takeaway for me when thinking of this list, there's uses for all of these exercises.
Yeah.
They're all like, except for that damn external rotation thing, but they're all like useful at certain times. They can all be good exercises for athletes and for people in general, but you don't have to do any of them.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, bench press is for sure just overrated.
Yeah. Yeah, like before we got all this new equipment, I think 4 years ago now, we had, I don't know if you remember over here, we had, I don't know, 4 Smith machines down here.
No.
Down this far end.
Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah, and now they were only here, at least when I was here as a coach, they were only here for my first semester and before we redid all of this. But the only thing I used those for was for like an inverted row. Like we wouldn't even use anything. Now, for something like that, like, it's easy to set up.
Lock it in, good to go.
You're ready to go. But yeah, like I'm like, I remember talking to Coach Cunningham, like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure those are probably here for 20 years, but it's like, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's very similar to the leg press, where it's just like, I mean, you see again, something else that it made me think of, like, Sam Sulek uses those all the time, but again, what's he training for?
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids run into that where, they find these influencers that, inspire them and that they enjoy watching, which is great. But I think sometimes it's lost in, oh, well, Sam Sulek or whoever else, like, does this, and this. So, like, why don't we do that? It's like, well, don't forget, like, what the difference is between what we're training for and what those bodybuilders, like, he competes bodybuilding, obviously he's huge, it's like, just because he or someone else that you see online does it and they look awesome, they look great, doesn't mean that there's much benefit or much carryover from those movements to what we're training as athletes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, on that note, because Sam's a good example, there's a ton of people doing it for like RDLs or like hip bridge. That'd be perfect. Like, you're done, you just lock it. Okay, it makes sense. But most of those people doing that stuff, I think, are bodybuilder or just like more aesthetics people. They're not doing it to be a better athlete.
Yeah.
And as we know, the more stable an exercise is, kind of like the single leg RDL thing, the more stable an exercise is, the more load you can use and the
Yep.
more force you can produce. So for them, trying to put on more and more weight and really just focus on that muscle, great idea.
Yeah.
Great way to do it. But yeah, just not as practical and not a great carryover.
Yeah, I think something that a Smith machine could be used for, thinking about this, just brainstorming, for athletes specifically, is like calf raise variations.
I was gonna, yeah.
Just because again, like it's more stable,
Mm-hmm.
compared to doing like a calf raise just like with a barbell on your back or dumbbells or whatever it is. But I think something like that, could kind of be an anomaly in the sense of I would probably prefer someone to do a calf raise on a Smith machine
Mm-hmm.
than with a barbell on their back.
Yeah.
So again, it goes to show like, yeah, there's a lot of different, ways you can do things. And there's rarely ever any like absolutes in strength and conditioning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least in terms of like exercise. In
For
terms
sure.
of
For sure.
kind of like we're just talking about this whole thing. It's like there's rarely ever any absolutes in the sense of you have to do this or you should never do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always tell kids, if you hear somebody tell you, a coach, an influencer, anybody else that is explaining exercises and how to work out, if you ever hear anybody say, oh, you should never do this or you should always do this, it's like, yeah, you're probably, their probably perspective is probably not as open-minded as they should be.
Yeah.
In the sense of, now the external rotation is one thing, right? Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that, but for the most part,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, yeah, like, if someone is super married to a movement or super against a movement, it's like, well, maybe they're not as, open-minded as you should be, if you're training athletes or general population or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, interesting conversation just
Yeah.
about kind of what we think our most overrated exercises are for athletes. I'm trying to think of most of the stuff that I thought of at first were kind of like we talked about, which we'll talk about in a different
Mm-hmm.
episode, but it was just like I could come up with a lot of like,
Methods.
yeah, like
Yeah.
methods and things like that I think are overrated,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll save that for a different episode. But
And I think the fun thing with this one and with that one in the future is like there's kind of like you were saying, there's no absolutes.
Yeah.
There's nuance to it. Every exercise other than damn extra rotation. And there's like a time and place for it.
yeah,
Still have athletes back squat. Still have athletes, a few athletes, some athletes clean, bench press. But it's like, do you have to do it? No.
Yeah.
Like, do people care too much about it or overemphasize it? Yes.
yeah,
In my opinion. And same with like some of these methods that we'll probably get to one of these days is there's use for at least
Sure.
we'll see
Yeah,
how
some
we
of
feel
them.
then. There's use for them.
Yeah.
Like but it just depends on what you think you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, I agree with that. But I think those are all good. I think those are, just a good discussion topic of like why we think this way and just kind of the differences of, some of those people will probably be like, what the hell, like,
I hope.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully. That's kind of the idea, start a discussion around it. But, yeah, I don't know. Anything else on that you think? I think in the future it'd be cool to do it. And I haven't even looked at that document, but it'd be cool to do like 5 underrated exercises too, because I was thinking of some of those. I think that would honestly probably be easier for me to come up with
Yeah.
a solid list than it was with this. Because again, going through this, it's like, yeah, like, for the strong majority of them, it's like, well, you can make an argument for this side, for the opposite of it being overrated, but yeah, a lot of them it just came down to the traditional strength exercises, at least for me, that are like, yeah, like these are overrated in the sense of everybody thinks you have to do it. You really don't,
You don't.
So
I think that sums up this discussion.
yeah, there's, you don't, like you said, there are really no rules, no set in stone rules. And I think a lot of times the people that we see, have some of the best success in strength and conditioning are the people that think outside the box and that, get away from, super traditional thought patterns. Like makes me think of like Mark Jamison, the guy I interned under in grad school. Like he was always, still to this day, he's always like implementing something new. Like with the flywheel stuff. He had been doing that long before I even got there, and that's still kind of like a nuanced like training method. He was just very good about being up to date on like current research and just kind of like having his finger on the pulse of like what new options are available in terms of training that he might be able to build into his program. So that's just one example, but there's plenty of people out there that I think differently from the everyday strength coach or person in this industry. And I think a lot of times those people, are ahead of the curve and can utilize that to their advantage to, get better results or different results from different training methods.
It makes me think, just like thinking differently, kind of going against traditional wisdom, makes me think of Ben Patrick, knees over toes guy. Because, shoot, even when we were lifting in here, it was, don't let your knees go forward.
Yeah.
Like sit back on your heels, reach back. I'm not saying do all of his stuff all the time. I don't think he lives in the absolutes of you must do this.
Yeah.
It's like, it depends. And then there's a Jeff Bezos quote. I either read it this morning or last night, where he was saying, in order to have huge success, you have to go against traditional or conventional wisdom. He's like, the problem is conventional wisdom is right, like 9 out of 10 times. He's like, but if you want to have huge success, you still have to go against it sometimes. Like you have to go with your gut, and when you think like, no, I think there's a better way to do this. He's like, it's like swinging for the fences in baseball. If you're swinging as hard as you can every time, you're going to strike out a lot. If you bet against conventional wisdom, you're going to be wrong 9 out of 10 times. He's like, in baseball, if the bases are loaded and you hit it further than anyone ever has hit a baseball, you still get four runs, 4 points.
Yeah.
He's like, in business, you hit one out the park, it could be 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And that's Amazon. But yeah, like sometimes betting against conventional wisdom, especially when you're like, no, this makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have huge success.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, it's a good topic, man. I think we'll do, more like this. And I think stuff like this is probably a little bit more digestible for most people, instead of the, some of the more detailed stuff that we've talked about and that we find interesting. So, we'll continue to knock this out, man. We got more in-person episodes coming that we're working on. That'll be exciting.
Some fun ones.
Yep, got some fun ones coming up. So we'll continue to do that and just keep trying to get 1% better. That's really what it comes down to. So anything else before we take off?
I'm good.
All right, man. We'll see y'all next week.